Have you ever gotten confused and thought maybe all religions are true, have some sort of truth to them? Well, by definition, truth is exclusive. Not all religions, they can all be false, but they can't all be true. When you really look at it, you've got a range of beliefs from atheism that says there's no God to agnosticism that says, not really quite sure, to pantheism that says everything is God, or panentheism that says God is in everything, or Buddhism that kind of runs a spectrum of atheism to its derivatives from Hinduism. And you get a lot of Eastern New Age beliefs where you hear conversations about the universe, or then you get into polytheism, whether it's from ancient Greek religions on through traditional spiritism, seeing gods or demons and a lot of different things, or Hinduism that makes claims to lots of different gods. And then you get into the category of monotheism, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Not all these can be true. They make exclusive truth claims. You need to decide which one is true. One good question a lot of people ask is, how do I even know that Jesus existed? I mean, how do I know this isn't just a myth or a story or something made up? And just the easy answer to that question is to look for the evidence. There is so much evidence for Jesus. In fact, there's more evidence for Jesus' physical life and existence than pretty much any human being in history. Archaeological evidence, scientific evidence, manuscript evidence, the documents of the Bible, outside of the Bible. There really is no doubt, if you're looking at evidence and you're being logical and reasonable, that Jesus Christ existed, which then begs further questions about who was he? Who did he say he was? Is he truly who he said he was, or isn't? And this is important. And really the starting point is to look at, is the Bible true? So yes, Jesus existed, and then that begs even further good questions. One of the most important questions to consider is not simply did Jesus exist. It's very clear from the evidence of history that he existed, but is he God's son? Is he more than just a good man? And one of the most amazing things, I love this quote from C.S. Lewis. He says, "You must make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or else he is a madman or something worse." I mean, you have to decide, is Jesus really who he said he is, or is he some sort of crazy lunatic? So many evidences, even in his words from the accurate Bible, about his baptism being displayed, that he is God, his I am statements across the Gospels. He's called Emmanuel, God with us. He's referenced as seeing God when you see him, that if you've seen him, you've seen the Father. He's the image of the invisible God. And over and over and over, Jesus leaves no room for questioning. He's not just merely a man. He is God in flesh. Some people might say when they look at the life of Jesus, I can accept he was a good teacher or he was a prophet, but I can't accept that he was God. Well, here's 10 evidences from the scriptures about Jesus being more than just a good man, about being God in flesh, his birth, a virgin birth, impossible for mankind, that he fulfilled the prophecies, literally hundreds of prophecies, statistically impossible. The angels worship him. He receives that worship. He's transfigured. The disciples claim for him to be God. He is without sin. He has the power to forgive sin. He doesn't just have the power to heal people from blindness or deafness or muteness or disease, but he actually raises the dead to life, and then his own resurrection and ascension into heaven, witnessed by hundreds of people. Listen, Jesus is more than just a good man. He's more than a prophet. He is God in flesh. One of the most important questions about understanding, is Christianity true, is just asking the question, is the Bible true? How do I know if the Bible's true? And the amazing thing is, the Bible is the most accurate book of human history, and that's just, there's so much evidence, the internal evidence. I mean, you have 40 different authors over thousands of years as a pen in the hand of the Creator writing the same consistent message. There's so much internal corresponding, corroborating evidence. There's evidence outside of the Bible, secular history. There's evidence from Jewish history, archaeological evidence, scientific evidence, historical documentary evidence, that over and over and over the Bible just evidences it truly is what it says it is. The Word of God. And if you haven't ever read the Bible, I just want to encourage you to read it for yourself. And if you have questions of the Bible, do your homework. There is an abundant amount of evidence that the Bible is true. One of the best ways to see that the Bible is true is to look at the manuscript or the bibliographical evidence. It's just overwhelming. In fact, you can look up little charts, dorky little charts that kind of show, compare the Bible to other works of ancient history, like Homer's Iliad, Plato's Tetralogy, Caesar's Gallic Wars, Tacitus, Pliny, Thucydides, Demosthenes. I can't say all those names right, but the amazing thing is the quantity of manuscripts, the quality of the manuscripts, the time gap between the manuscript and the actual original date of the autograph. It just proves over and over and over. Literally, there are over 24,000 manuscripts of the New Testament alone, and it shows that what we hold in our hand in the modern English translation or whatever language you speak Bible is accurate to the original writing. Have you ever considered the archaeological evidence for the Bible? There are literally thousands upon thousands of discoveries, things that have been dug up in Israel and across the world that bear evidence the Bible really is what it says it is. Two websites you could check out are BiblePlaces.org or BibleArchaeology.org just to get a glimpse into some of them. Here's just a few: the Nag Hammadi Library, the New Ain Dara Temple, the Tel Dan Stela, the Mona Lisa of the Galilee, Yahweh and his Asherah, St. Peter's house, the Siloam Pool, Ashkelon's arched gate, Jerusalem's stepstone structure, Jerusalem's Babylonian siege tower. That's just 10 evidences. There are hundreds and thousands, literally, archaeological evidences in there. And really, every month of the year, there's a new archaeological evidence that's discovered that evidences the Bible is true. Some amazing evidence for the Bible being true comes from outside the Bible. You see in early church history that they lived, talked about, and died for the Bible, that they said it was true. But not just Christians, Jewish leaders, Jewish sacred writings in the Babylonian Talmud reference Jesus. Flavius Josephus, a very famous Jewish historian, references Jesus. One of the most famous historians of first century Rome, Cornelius Tacitus, speaks several places about Jesus. Others like Gaius Suetonius Tranquillus and Pliny the Younger also speak to Jesus' existence. In fact, you can take a lot of secular writings from outside the Bible, and you can pretty much assemble a very simple gospel explanation that Jesus really existed and that he testified that he was the way, the truth, and the life. It's not just from inside the Bible, it can be found outside the Bible. One good question to ask is there any scientific evidence for the Bible being true? Check this out. Here's some different things where the Bible called it way before science understood it, that the earth is a sphere. Thousands of years. Isaiah 40 verse 22, that there's an incalculable number of stars. Jeremiah 33:22, that earth isn't on top of a giant or on top of an animal, that it free floats in space. Job 26:7. The creation is made of invisible elements, that each star is different, that light moves, that air has weight, that the wind blows in cyclones, that there's actually currents and wind patterns over the ocean, that blood can reveal your health, that the ocean floor contains deep valleys. Listen, there are so many scientific discoveries that are in the Bible that weren't made until hundreds and thousands of years later. Have you ever looked at the prophecies about Jesus? One of the most amazing internal evidences that the Bible is true is that writings from hundreds and thousands of years ahead of time made very specific predictions about the life, the birth, the death, the teachings, the miracles of Jesus. And they came true. It's really amazing. In fact, it's a statistical impossibility. There's well over 300 prophecies about the life and death of Jesus. And if just 8 of those prophecies came true, do you know the statistical probability of that? It's 1 times 10 to the 17th power. That's 1 with 17 zeros right after that. Or the chances of Jesus fulfilling 48 prophecies is 1 times 10 to the 157th power. So just the predictions, the prophecies alone, and how they come to true evidence that the Bible really is what it says it is, the Word of God. How do you know there's a God that created? I mean, have you ever wondered, could evolution be true? Well, you really need to ask yourself some good questions that, frankly, science and evolution can't answer. I mean, where did it all start from? Where did this all start from? Even if evolution happened, how did it all begin? Where were those first 2 molecules? If there was a big bang, where did they come from? And scientists just don't have those answers, and they don't have the evidence. They might be able to show microevolution, the changing of beaks into bigger beaks or different things, but they can't show macroevolution, how a fish transformed into a bird or any of those steps along the way. They take guesses, but there's just no evidence. It hasn't been observed. It hasn't been repeated. It's just not scientific. Evolution is not scientific. And when you look out and you see the creation, you see somebody created it. There's design, there's intentionality in the creation. So look and see and realize that creation gives the greatest answers. Have you ever wondered, is there more evidence for creation or more evidence for evolution? I mean, the scientists tend to show you and tell you there's so much evidence for evolution, but is it true? I mean, have you ever been in a building? When you're in a building, you know there was an architect, there was a designer, there was a builder. It didn't just happen. Have you ever read a book? You know, behind every book, there's an author. Behind every artwork, there's an artist. And it's the same way with creation. Listen, evolution doesn't answer basic questions like where did it all start from? And where did those first two cells come to and come to be and explode into complex order? There's just a lot of big gaping holes in the scientific arguments that really just don't have scientific evidence. It's not observable, it's not repeatable. You can't find the big gaps between the species. So just ask those questions, and ultimately there's a lot more evidence for creation than there is for evolution.